You can live a life full of love and light if you just let the Spirit guide you. It's the remedy where you'll find peace, but you must let the Spirit guide you.
Who made y'all priests?
What's up, world? This is Fafore.
What's going on, good people? This is Oseun. Welcome back to the Who Made Y'all Priest podcast, where we talk about our spiritual journeys, our everyday life experiences, and the issues of the times from the perspective of two people who just happen to be priests. Fafore, what's going on, man?
Man, blessed, man. Blessed and highly favored. You know what
Blessed and
I'm
highly favored, huh? That's how I feel.
saying? Yeah.
I'm chosen. I'm chosen by the one.
I know that's right. I know that's right. How are you doing on this beautiful day?
Man, I just quit my job, man. I quit my job. I'm going to another job. I was not able to give uh, my job a 2 weeks notice. I went and took them all of their equipment, truck, and all of that today, and I started my new job on Tuesday. So, but in my whole life, I've never given a 2 weeks notice to a job.
That's bad.
Never.
That's bad character.
They
Awo.
don't, they don't give you no 2 weeks notice when they smoke you. They don't tell you, hey man, we're gonna give you 2 weeks to find you another job, but your last day is 14 days from now. They'll never tell you that.
Well, in them instances, you probably already know. You probably had multiple conversations. You done had like a verbal warning, a written warning. You know
See,
what I'm
not in my
saying?
industry. Not in my industry. And in my industry, it could be one ticket you was on, you mismarked something and something got hit and a police station went down. Yeah, they'll fire you. They'll fire you right there. So, and they don't look too kindly on 2 weeks notices in my industry either. If you put in a 2 weeks notice, they might smoke you. So, yeah, man.
Oh yeah, nah, I feel you on that. I need my whole check.
Yeah, so I wait all the way to the end. The last job I quit, I called my supervisor at the end of the day on the last ticket. Like, hey, I'm at my last ticket, and I was right across the main street from where I lived at. So I was like, hey, I'm at my last ticket, man, and finna pull up to my house. Y'all come get y'all truck.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So can you go back to that job when you quit like that?
You know what's crazy is I did go back to that job. Yeah, they hired me back. And the dude that was my supervisor the second time I quit, he still to this day tell me I could come back if I want to.
Dang, but you dropped a whip off though. It was like, here go the
It's at my house.
address.
Yeah, it's at my house. Oh, they know where it's at. So
Dang,
I
like,
went from one job to another job, back to my first job, back to the second job. Yeah, they both hired me back.
dang.
And I quit both of them. Like, hey, I'm at my last ticket. Or hey, today was my last day. And yeah, they hired me back.
Man, my last job, I gave them like 2 months notice.
Man, I can't even fathom nothing like that, man.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be gone in a couple months. Yeah. I think the job before that, I gave them probably a couple months notice.
Yeah,
So
man, I'm always spooked about my background, man. I'm always spooked about how far these jobs gonna go back, what they gonna find, stuff like that. Like I ain't had no convictions in 15 years, but sometimes I had one job that I applied for. They went back 20 years.
that's crazy.
Yeah, they went back 20 years, man, and didn't hire me. So when I apply for jobs and they hit me with the offer letter, this is contingent upon you passing your UA and your background. Oh yeah, I'm waiting on my background to come back first before I do anything.
Dang, yeah, I feel you on that. Um, Man, that's like global entry. I remember when I did global entry, they was telling me they go way back, like way back. And I was telling the guy, I said, man, I'm cool. I got a secret security clearance. I'm not worried about, not passing my background check. He said, no, we even go further than that. I said, so y'all trying to find a way not to give somebody global entry. So,
Right. Right.
but I was cool.
They did,
So
they did my mom like that. My mom had been staying in some apartments for like 13 years. And new management took over. New management did new background checks on everybody in the apartment complex. And they went back 100 years. They went back 100 years. And they was gonna put my mama out too for something that my mama went to jail for when she was 17 years old, 18 years old. I'm like, man, this is
that's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. So
You know
what does
that?
it really mean to pay your debt
Right.
to society? What does that really mean?
Right. I remember I got evicted from an apartment. Man, this had to be like 20 years ago. It was like it was based on it was like income based. Right. I was in college. But they was nice though.
Mm.
And it was like directly across the street from the college. So I'm like, how do people who in like college or anybody for that matter, like how does anybody afford to live here? For what you got to pay for it, but what your income has to be like. I don't get how that work out. So we moved in, and I was telling them like, look, I'm in college now, but I'm about to graduate. So when I graduate and I start working, is that going to be a problem or whatever? They were like, no, you cool. So I'm like, okay, cool. I think me and my roommate probably stayed there. We renewed the lease once. We were coming up on the third one. They were like, no, y'all gotta go. And we like, for what? They were like, your income. Like, what you mean? Well, we already been staying. No, we don't care. You gotta go. I think what happened is the manager left. And the manager over there was cool. She was looking out for everybody. Cause my homeboy across the parking lot from me, and like we had started college together. So by this point I probably known him for 10 years. No, maybe not that long. Well, I did 8 years of undergrad, so it could have been 10 years. But he had got kicked out too because they had ran his income stuff. So what we put together, what happened was the manager who was hooking us all up, she left, and the assistant manager, who was always there, but we just like literally never talked to, she got promoted to manager. When she got promoted though, she was a monster, and she was getting everybody up out of there. But I think what was happening is they were probably getting kicked down from the government or something, because of that situation. So they had to make sure that they had people who actually qualified in these apartments. So yeah, it was crazy, but we kept fighting it, and then one day we got that note put on our door, like, you got 3 days,
Right.
or y'all stop getting.
Right.
Yep.
You put that thing on the doorknob.
Yeah, you got 3 days. So man, we
Right.
had to hustle and move, and it was crazy. So yeah, that was wild.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, man. That make me think about like what does it really mean to pay your debt to society, and is it ever paid?
If you got a felony.
That's what I'm saying. It's never
Yeah,
your
yeah,
debt to society is never paid. It's been,
absolutely.
like I said, it's been 15 years since I've had a conviction, and I still have to worry about that when I'm applying for a new job, especially if I feel like it's a good job. I'm always concerned about how far they're gonna go back, what they're gonna be looking at, and those type of things. So I still got that on my back, man. I still got that those felony convictions on my back.
Yeah, but our luau always says that as practitioners of E5, they should never see a sweat. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, the old duo O'Shea Maggie says, faith and trust in the process, we'll be good, we'll be blessed. So,
Man.
keep doing all that good work, brother. You'll be all right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm on now.
Right. Well, congratulations.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, man. So what we got? So what we got for the people today, man? What are we gonna bless the people with this week?
So this week we need to have a discussion about the war in the Middle East between the Palestinians and the Israelis. We need to have a conversation about that, you know. So you ready to get into it?
Yeah, man. Let's go. Let's get into it,
All
man.
right, let's go.
So my earliest knowledge about anything that has to do with Israel is, of course, from the Bible. The Israelis, the Palestinians, anything having to do with that part of the world, my earliest knowledge comes from the Bible. You know, the whole thing about the children of Israel being released from bondage in the land of Israel, staying in the wilderness for 40 years, and then Joshua and the Israelis finally going into the land of Canaan, where all of these different people lived in this one land. Um, One of the most significant things to me is, at least not when I was a Christian, but once I came out of Christianity, one of the most significant things and confusing things to me is uh, a God that we say is perfect, is just, is merciful, telling one people to go into a land that's clearly occupied by another people and
Mm-hmm.
to kill every man, woman, child, animal, to kill
Mm-hmm.
everything, to basically scorch the earth here in this land. So my earliest knowledge about Israel and the Palestinians, or the land that would have been called Palestine at that time, is that they took that land. The Israelis took that land from all of the people that were living in that land at that time. After taking hold of the land, you know, now we get the kings. Fast forward to the kings, to King David, Solomon, and then you get this rift in the land of Israel. You get this divide, and now you have the country of Israel in the north, the country of Judah in the south. And then you have all of these different wars taking place. The Assyrians taking
Mm-hmm.
some of the Israelites into bondage. And then lastly, around King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians sack Judah, take Judah into the land of Babylon. And some of these Israelis, they never return. Now you have to fast forward to the 1940s. In the 1940s, in 1948, May 1948, David Ben-Gurion established a Jewish state that we now call Israel, in what we call the land of Israel now, that in antiquity would have been the land of Palestine. Um, the war, the war now, the current war, I'm of the belief that we don't know what's going on over there. That we don't know if the Israelis fired the first shot, if the Palestinians fired the first shot, um, if the Israelis are committing uh, crimes of war, vice versa. We don't know. We don't know who's doing what over there. So I don't think we really know what's going on with the war over there. I know for a fact that the media would have you believe that the side that we need to choose is the side of the Palestinians. The same thing in the Russia-Ukrainian war. The media definitely wanted you to choose the side of the Ukrainians. When we don't know the history behind Russia and Ukraine, what type of wars they've had in the past. We just don't know. I feel like that we should use Ifa to guide us. I think the Yoruba language, the language that the Odu Ifa is encoded in, makes a very great distinction between things that we know and things that we believe. If you didn't have a first hand experience of something, you don't know. You just believe. If you are receiving secondhand accounts of anything, you just believe. Until you can experience something with your own senses, until you can actually place your feet on the land and see what's going on there, we don't know. We don't know what's going on over there at all. I know the history that I think I know, the history that I'm familiar with, again, comes from the Bible. We know how that's been manipulated over the thousands of years that they claim that it's been written. So that's my perspective. I don't really think we know what's going on over there. I don't claim to know what's going on over there. I'm not choosing a side. I'm not pro Palestinian or pro Israel. I'm doing what our Luo told us to do, to stand in the middle, look equally to both sides, and not make a judgment, but try to understand why this is happening at this time, and what's the ultimate plan for it. What about you? What are your thoughts on the war over there in the so-called Middle East?
First of all, that was a beautiful job, giving some history and some background, even going back to the Bible. You know, when I remember reading that in the Bible too, and I remember thinking to myself like, "Yo, God tripping." Because I remember he even opened up the ground and swallowed up some of the people, the Hebrews who did not kill everything on their way to Canaan. And I
Right.
said, that I don't even know which is worse, given the decree, like to do that, or
Mhm.
coming back and saying, "Hey, what's that you got over there? I thought I had said, don't even worry about it." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, this is how I know people don't really read the Bible. Because if you really read it, like you would be like, "Yo."
Hmm.
I still think it's a beautiful book, very informative.
So
I'm
do I.
just um old men, like your uncles would tell you. You know what I'm saying? The way you get her is the way you lose it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So when we talk about the land being occupied by the Palestinians first, we gotta also understand how that happened. Remember, the Ottoman Empire was the one who had conquered that land,
Hmm.
right? That wasn't their land, you know, either.
Hmm.
And the word that you had mentioned, you said a word that I think is a beautiful word to understand in any and every scenario, which is perspective.
Hmm.
There have been events that have changed my thoughts on things. And I know now that it was preparing me for priesthood. I remember when I was in school getting my MBA, taking a master's business law course. And I remember them bringing up, I don't remember if you remember the case about the lady that sued McDonald's because of the hot coffee.
Hmm.
I remember thinking to myself, like, that's crazy. How can you sue somebody for that and win? No, not how can you sue somebody, but how can you win off of that?
Right.
And my professor, who was a lawyer, started going over the facts of the case. And there were emails that were going around internally saying that the coffee was too hot to be selling to customers at that temperature. There was
Wow.
some email traffic going around.
Hmm.
And the email traffic was like, nah, we're going to keep it at that temperature, but, you know, they'll be all right, basically. That was one of the things that they used to go ahead and find McDonald's guilty and, award it to the plaintiff. So perspective is tremendous, tremendously important.
Hmm.
So when you understand first that the Ottoman Empire goes in, they take the land from the people who are already there, right? Then it was mostly Muslim and Christian, very, very, very few Jewish people. Then you had World War One, and because of persecution of the Jews in Europe, they came over. Now, if you have a map or a globe, then it lets you see how close Europe is to Africa,
Hmm.
right? So it helps to understand that how close they were, and it just made sense that that's where they went to. Then after the Holocaust, it was a big, you know, influx of Jewish people to that area.
So you're talking about World War II.
Yeah.
World War II. Okay.
But yeah, talk about first about World War One, very, very few, and then World War II, big influx, right? So on top of this, during the time you started having this nationalism, and people were going from, Ottoman Turks to being known as Palestinians, right? So this is where you have the nationalism coming from. Now you have a lot of, Jewish people in this area. And like you normally have when you have people from different backgrounds, for whatever reason, starts being infighting. At some point, though, the UN gets involved to try to carve out a peace for Israel or for the Jewish population. That area became Israel. After that happened, then they're still fighting. There's a war. As a result of the war, then Israel takes over or the Israelis take over that whole territory. Even a little piece of Egypt, a little piece of Syria, and if I'm not mistaken, a little piece of Jordan as well. All right. Then you have this little space where, like the West Bank, Gaza, where you had the Palestinian concentration. At some point, because of, just religious freedom, because of it was cheap land, you had Israelis start to go into those areas that was, like the Palestinian stronghold. The Palestinians didn't have their own state, so they were under Israeli rule. Now imagine that. You know how they say the saying ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun?
Right.
So imagine you being the minority and then you you being the majority fighting against the minority, and then at some point it switches, right? So now the Israelis are in their territory, fighting is still happening, still going on. And you have peace treaties, or then you have attempts at peace, but then you still have fighting. And I can't remember his name, but there was an Israeli prime minister who was working on the peace treaty. And then you had, somebody who was against that because they wanted to keep fighting with the Palestinians. And that president was assassinated. So that kicks the fighting back up. So, like you said, that's what we have today. So it's easy for somebody, well, for the most part, Israelis or Jewish people are going to take the side of Israel, and maybe Muslims or Arabs and Palestinians are going to take the side of Palestine. But those people picking sides, it depends on where you come in to the story, to where you say we're right and you're wrong.
Right.
It's kind of hard to claim self-defense when somebody is retaliating against something that you did.
Even if it was 1,000 years ago.
Right. Exactly. Because there are people who will tell you, I'm getting my lick back.
Okay, how long it take?
I don't got to get it back today. I don't got to get it back tomorrow, but I'm going to get my lick back.
Right. Even if I have to instill it in my kids to get they lick back on your kids.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I see here is, it's funny how, or not even funny, it's spot on how you started with starting with the Bible to explain the conflict, right? Because this is a spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle. And it's going to continue on until each side can look at themselves to see the part that they played. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no side who has clean hands. There's no side that's blameless.
Right.
You know, the energy of both of these sides have played a role in what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Starting all the way back to where the people who are known as the Palestinians, who were once known as the Ottomans, came in and took over that land. And then some people later on came back and took it from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had an episode here where we talked about karma. You know, this is what I see. It's karma. It's negative energy on both sides coming back. Now, the sad part about it is, from somebody who is very empathetic, is you have people who don't have guns, who aren't playing an active role in the conflict, that is making up the majority of the people who are ended up dead.
Right.
You know, innocent, so-called innocent. The reason why I say so-called innocent, we don't know anybody's karma. We don't know what anybody has done. We don't know what the energy that anybody has brought into this lifetime.
Right.
We don't know what actions people have done to perpetuate any of the negativity that they experience in this lifetime. However, because I don't know that, and even if I did know that, I could still be empathetic to,
yeah,
you know, hospitals being blown up. You got, you know, men, women, and children being killed. Man, that's heartbreaking.
Right.
That is 100% heartbreaking.
Right. I think whenever a human dies, I think we are in some way, at least subconsciously, affected. Like you say, it's heartbreaking to know that men, women, and children who are not combatants over there are dying. Now, to come at that from another angle, when I try to remove emotion from it, right? Like this is collateral damage. These are the ills and the effects of war. I mean, it's been war in that part of the world since history records have been written. It's been war in that part of the world. I feel like it will forever be war in that part of the world because too many different religions consider that land holy.
Right.
Now, I wanted to ask you about something else because you talked about the Jews after World War II, or at least a high influx of Jews after World War II leaving Europe and going down into that land. There's been a lot of talk on the internet about this Ashkenazi thing, these Ashkenazi Jews coming from Europe and going into the so-called Holy Land. These are European Jews who are not bloodline Jews, but who have been converted to Judaism. So they technically have no real claim to the land. This is what some people are saying. They really have no claim to the land, as opposed to the Palestinians. The Palestinians can actually lay claim to that land. What do you think about that perspective as far as who really has a right to claim that land, and about the difference between a bloodline Jew or an Ashkenazi Jew?
Nobody has a claim to any piece of land on this earth. We all were placed here, you know, by the Creator, regardless of what you call that energy or what you call that spirit, however you want to break it down. I still find it weird, and I have a real estate investment company. I still find it weird that we're able to actually buy land.
Right.
Like the fact that somebody was able to come here and claim it as theirs to then be able to sell it to somebody else is when you really think about it, right? if you really are a practitioner of these earth-based spiritual systems, you got to find that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Now I know this is the way of the world now, so I'm not saying you shouldn't, buy any land or anything like that. That's just the kind of the world we live in today, especially over here. Now, when I was in Brazil, like in those favelas, people just go to a spot and say, "Hey, ain't nobody here." They just start building. It becomes theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's tripping like that. There's probably no deeds or anything of that nature. Matter of fact, there aren't any, or there wasn't at least, because the Brazilian government at some point realized, like, hey, this is prime real estate. They were trying to move those people out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, nobody has claim. I would even say that, again, the Palestinians don't even have claim,
Mm-hmm.
because those people who we call Palestinians or Arab, even though Arab just means sand dweller, you could be African and be technically an Arab, but that is not the face of what we see as an Arab. And that's not how most people outside that area identify an Arab. But none of those people are indigenous to that area. They all came from somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
So even the Palestinians, they just happen to be there longer.
Right.
But they took that land, So yeah, nobody has a claim. So I think the problem is you upsetting the balance of nature when you fighting over something that's not yours anyway. So to me, it's a unwinnable war for
Mm-hmm.
either side. Now, the bodies are piling up a lot higher for the Palestinians, but it's an unwinnable war for either side, because at some point, no matter who's left standing at the end over there, there's some karma coming to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
It might not happen this generation, it might not happen the next generation, but it's coming.
Right.
Now, how do I know that it's not their land? Well, just how I know, if when I see a polar bear at the zoo, based upon how it looks, I know that a polar bear, just from me looking at it, is not indigenous to Houston, Texas.
Right.
I don't care if those polar bears in the zoo have babies and end up being in Houston for the next 1,000 years. That's against their nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their environment. When I was in Egypt, which is in that part of the world, you had people who was walking around good, and then you had people who was passing out.
Right.
People who was passing out, people who were not indigenous to that space,
Mm-hmm.
because the heat and the sun was whooping them.
Right.
Right? That's not to say that just because you're not indigenous to a place, that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to move freely
Mm-hmm.
around any given space. But you do got to obey the laws of nature. And I would say we all are failing at doing that. So when it comes to the converts and to Judaism and those who aren't converts, I can't really. I would have to go to the Torah for one to see if the Torah treats them the same. I don't know that off the top of my head. I would assume though that the Torah, and I don't like assuming, but I'm gonna just do that for this time. I would assume that the Torah doesn't see them as any different.
Right. I can help you out with that and say that no, the Torah does not. Once you have converted to Judaism and repented of worshiping these other gods, then you are, by all intents and purposes, a Jew.
Okay, so sound like same as being saved. If you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is the Son of God and died for your sins, and you will be saved. So kind of the same type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, but nobody has claim to that land or any land. But I'm gonna tell you what's really the problem though. And I would say we all play a role in the conflict that's happening over there. And I know people think, well, how the hell? I live in Detroit. How I got to play a role in that? Negativity is an energy,
Mhm.
and negativity is infectious. And we all say some negative stuff and do some negative stuff. I remember during the election for Biden and Trump, people saying that I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. Last time I checked, the lesser of two evils is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And people said it boastfully and people said it proudly, right? That type of thought process perpetuates evil. It allows us to turn a blind eye to evil.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go through all of these disgusting situations throughout world history, there were people who were just like, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That is how evil is able to be perpetuated. So we all play a role. Like I hear people say, which is true, are we not going to address what's going on in the Congo? No, because the people in the Congo are African. They're black. No, we're not going to address the people in the Congo. But I will tell you this, if you're on social media complaining about the people in the Congo, you're doing it on your cell phone, which is the reason why people in the Congo is being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a part of the problem anyway. No matter how much you speak out or whatever, you're a part of the problem.
Right.
If you're not ready to give up your cell phone, you're a part of the problem. You're perpetuating the violence that is going on in the Congo
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about money. And the money is the stuff that they found in the ground that is being used to power our cell phones, our laptops, and who knows what else when it comes to technology.
Right. Right. Yeah. This is a crazy set of events, a crazy set of affairs. Again, I don't really think we know what's going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, we don't know who fired the first shot. We don't know who's perpetrating these crimes of war. We know the pictures that we've seen. We know the images that we've seen. But I think many of us, we've been alive long enough to know that the media can present us with images that could be misleading. They
Mm-hmm.
can be misleading and force us to choose a side. You and I talked a lot about allowing the spiritual system that we practice to guide our behavior and our thinking. We
Right.
talk about that all the time. And the old Dewey Foss says to not choose a side, not to come to a conclusion unless you have all of the facts. We
Right.
don't have all of the facts. So why are you picking the side of the Palestinians, or why are you picking the side of the Israelis? I say that if you are not in that land, you don't pick a side. You will never have all of the facts, especially if you are making an attempt to get those facts to the media. You will never have all of the facts, so we would never be able to pick a side. And it's the same with the Russian and the Ukrainian war. We would never be able to pick a side. Now, you talked about what's going on in the Congo. I see more Black people worried about, talking about, giving updates about the war between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and hardly none of them are talking about what's going on in the Congo, because the Israeli-Palestinian war is trendy now, just like the Russian and the Ukrainian war is trendy. It's trendy because the media makes it trendy. There's something that's going on behind the scenes. Now, many people are not talking about Russia and Ukraine, even though that war is still going on. Uh, People are not even talking about that anymore. Now they're just talking about the Israeli and the Palestinian uh, war. Another question that I would ask you, that if no one has a claim to any land, what would you say to those who would refer to creation stories such as the one in our own Oduifa, where the Yoruba people being born in Ile-Ife. Do the Yoruba people lay claim to Ile-Ife, or do they not? Do they not have? Or are they not entitled to that land?
Entitled? No, nobody's entitled to any land. Now, when we talk about the creation story, and it's starting in Ile-Ife, there's a saying: "To the victors go the spoil."
Mm.
The people who write the book can write it however they want to.
Right.
You've never heard any scientific or a person coming from a place of science saying that creation started in anywhere in West Africa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just accept that as a myth that is taught by the people who wrote it to make themselves the center of the story, which goes with what you and I always say, that all spiritual traditions were created for that people,
Right.
that group of people.
Exactly.
Ifa wasn't created with those of us over here in the United States, in mind,
right.
or people in China or anything. It was their story. So it makes sense that their story starts out with creation starting in Ile-Ife. It was through the slave trade to where Yoruba people were scattered all around the world, and then that's how Ifa grew.
Right.
So, that makes sense that they made themselves the star of the story.
Right. And I think every spiritual book that has a creation story is written in that way.
Absolutely.
It starts with the people that's writing it. I think the Bible went even further and only focused on one line of a specific people. It only focused on one line.
Right.
I was just having a conversation with a Christian about where Adam and Eve really differs, if we're going to use the Bible, where Adam and Eve really differs man and woman on the planet. And if so, who did Cain go and marry? When he was banished from the Garden of Eden or wherever they was at.
Yeah, he ran to a whole group of people.
Right. So who did he go and marry? And I was trying to explain to them that what you have in the Bible is a story that's focused on a very specific line of people. I don't think it's making an attempt to say that this is the beginning, even though that's what we hear, in the beginning, and God created man on the sixth day, and blase, blase, blase. We hear that, but I think we as intelligent people, once we start to read these myths and these stories, we can understand that the focus is on one line of people. So now we're talking about the Jews, right? We're talking about the Jews and the Palestinians. Both groups of people are in the book. They're in the Torah or the Tanakh. They are there, both of them. I don't think that the Israelis, according to the history of the Bible, went in and, like you say, they didn't kill all of the people, because they even married some of their women, kept some of the animals alive, and things of that sort. I know that there was some amalgamation that took place, some mixing that took place, some inter marriages and things of that sort that took place. I don't understand why. I just don't understand at all. I really don't understand why there's so much war behind one very small piece of land, other than Jerusalem being in that spot and it being the so-called holy place to so many different people. That's the only thing. The Jews don't have a temple. The temple is not there. The temple hasn't been on the Temple Mount since 70 AD, when the Romans sacked it and burned it down for the last time. They haven't had a temple there since then. I think that isn't there a mosque on what they call the Temple Mount? There's a mosque there now.
Probably now because I mean a lot of the best architecture came through the Muslims,
Mm,
especially in that part of the world.
right.
So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm,
I mean, even if we go to Egypt, we looked at some of these churches, they look, same architecture as, mosques, and
mm,
then when I went to Turkey, you know, I saw mosques that looked just like the one that I saw in Egypt. Um, which
mm,
is why, traveling is very important to really get a understanding, get a different look on history.
right.
But, it's religion. That's really what it boils down. It boils down to religion, and even more than that, I would say dogma.
Mm,
You know, um, and again, and that doesn't stop with religion. That goes on to spirituality, right? If somebody went home and that practices Ifa, and they go in their house, and all their quote unquote valuables were still there, but somebody took all their implements, oh, they would die. Like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to talk to Eshu. I can't go to Ogun anymore. It's like, again, if you get to a certain level, you realize that, hey, all that exists inside of you. That's just a place for you to focus on. The
mhm,
power is within you,
right.
you know. Um, and then you can still go out in nature, which is really where we should be going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But so again, dogma doesn't just stop with the Abrahamic traditions or what we call organized religion, even, but it even goes with us.
Mm,
You know, um, I don't wear my e-day every day. There's people who are like, I can't believe you don't wear your e-day every day. Again, if this is all within me, all this is just an outward reflection.
right.
So yeah, man, it's sad. It's a sad space that we're in, and again, man, there's a lot of evil. There's a lot of darkness. We spend a lot of time talking about, or not a lot. I don't know if it's a lot, but I know a lot of people talk about the devil and demons and this, that, and the other. Man, you don't have to look further than your neighbor or yourself most of the time if you want to find a devil or the demon.
Most definitely.
You know.
Most definitely, man. And I think, you and I talked about the good condition or the good position and what we have to do collectively to reach that. And looking at the world today, well, we got a long way to go. We got a long
Mm-hmm.
way to go before
Mm-hmm.
we can reach the good position or the good condition.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go before we can do that. And
Right.
I think when we understand that nobody's crossing the finish line faster than anybody else, at least from my reading of the Odu that talks about
Yeah.
the the good condition or the good position, nobody's crossing the line any faster than anybody else. The
Right.
Odu Ifa seems to allude to the fact that we all have to reach the good position or the good condition before we can stop this traversing back and forth between Orun and Aye, or the spirit realm and the physical one, that we all
Yep.
have to get to that point. So if that be the case, we have a long way to go with these wars still being fought all over the world, with slavery still taking place all over the world, with racism still being all over the world. Man, we have a long way to go, and
Yeah.
I really do believe that the world is going to come, or our planet is going to come to the point where it's going to be almost on the brink of extermination and extinction before uh, we finally get it right. I believe that.
Which means we didn't get it right. It just
Right.
means, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Those of us that was on that type of time is out of here. You know, it's funny how we keep going back to the good position. I was talking to my brother today, and we was talking about that. He's a Christian, and we were having a conversation about religion and spirituality. And I said, even with that, I have to check myself, being a priest. You know, when we do Ebo Riru, you know, on a monthly basis, there's money that you know we have to give away. And so I used to hold on to that money until I found somebody black. You know,
Mm-hmm.
ideally a woman. If I found a woman, I would give it to her. But if you were black, that's cool. I'll just give it to them. And then one day I just had a thought to myself, like, man, I'm a priest. That's not really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like understanding collective consciousness.
Right.
So I said, this is how I'm gonna do it from now on. The first person I see, I don't care race, gender, whatever. That's what I'm giving the money from.
Right.
And I remember the first time I did it, I saw a white man on the corner. And I hesitated, like, nah, I know it's gonna be somebody else around here. And I said, you know what? Go out, stop giving the money. No, thank you, God bless you, all that. And I felt good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I felt good. And I felt in that situation, that position, I wasn't being hypocritical.
Right.
You know, that I was really, as young King said, I was standing on business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
know, I
Right.
was standing on business. So yeah, man, it's sad though. It's sad. Like man, I will say this though. If it wasn't for if I would be extremely emotional about a lot that goes on in the world.
Mm.
You know, but because of E5, me understanding how the world works, again, I can be empathetic to somebody in pain, you know, and that whole nine, but I stand in the middle. Now, I don't watch the videos anymore. So when I see a video coming up and I know that it's a bombing or this, that, and the other, I just scroll right past it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I got to be cognizant of, you know, what I give my energy to.
Mm.
But yeah, man, it's a sad state of affairs. And like you said, man, I just saw today where, you know, Russia just launched some more bombs. Like the fighting is going on. But nobody has said anything about that war. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I don't know if it's a condition of the time or if it's this thing where we just have this, I don't know, this like fake outrage. You know how like the Odu Okaran Meji talks about shocks of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like that's what happens. Like we see something and immediately we respond to it. But then after a while we like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Right.
And we just go on with our day.
I think it's become trendy. It's become cool to feel some type of outrage, to make yourself feel like your outrage is doing something.
Right.
It makes you feel like you are part of the solution when really you're not. You're not a part of the solution. Just having outrage or being upset about what's going on over there. It's a tragedy what's going on
Mm-hmm.
over there. Anytime, like I said, anytime any human dies on a subconscious level, if we believe in the collective consciousness or the collective unconscious or the collective, however you want to term it, if we believe in that, then you have to believe that anytime any human being dies on a subconscious level, that we are affected. We know that we are affected, especially again from my reading of, I want to say it's Hiroshi Warrior.
Yeah, that's what it
It's,
is.
it's Odu number 78. From my reading of that Odu, when we all have to do it together,
Right.
black, white, everything in between, any other races that you want to include, any other whatever you want to include, every human being, we all have to do this together. So it is sad, it is a tragedy when we see human life being taken the way that it is in these wars. I'm always thinking about things that go on in Chicago, here in my own city, in the inner cities of all of these major metropolitan cities, how we are killing one another. And it's a tragedy, because the more these killings take place, the longer we have to be here. When
Right.
those people were going to Arumala, they told Arumala, we tired. We
Right.
tired of going back and forth, man. We tired of doing this. This is the Odu says that this was evil people coming to Orumila also. Like, man, we tired of going back and forth. How come we can't
Right.
just rest in a room? And then Orumila told us what it is that we have to do before we can have that full rest. And
Right.
we are not close at all. We are not.
No, no, not at all. The last thing that I wanted to say about not necessarily this specific thing, but the nature of people in general. There was a lot of information, I think, during Obama's last term, where he had dropped more bombs and killed more people than any innocent civilians,
Mm-hmm.
specifically, than any other president in history. And because he was so well liked, I heard no outrage when it
Right.
comes to that.
Right. Nobody talked about it.
No outrage. And that's why I would say it's just a fake outrage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, had Trump did it, oh
man,
people would have been protesting like crazy. And that's why I say, man, people are just being, I don't know, just being dishonest with themselves.
mm-hmm.
You know, we all as a people have to do better. Period.
Human beings.
Period. Because we the only ones messing up, man. Hamsters gonna be hamsters. Tigers doing their thing like they supposed
Right.
to. Lions doing their thing. Giraffes. Everybody. Every other thing is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as they don't have to come into interaction with human beings.
Right.
That's when, you know, stuff for them starts getting messed up. But outside of that, man, like, yeah, we all have to do better as a people.
Right. I agree. You made me think about the Iniyan in the way that the Odu Ifa speaks about human beings, or the Iniyan, or the chosen ones, and that we are, as human beings, that we are supposed to bring goodness to the planet, and we are failing horribly. We are failing horribly. We have broken the covenant between us and nature. We've broken the covenant between us and spirit. We've broken the covenant between us and our ancestors. And we are suffering the perils of that right now, with these many wars going on over the world. I do think that the outrage is fake. I do think most people are not really concerned about what's going on over there. I can tell you that if I didn't hear about it so much on the news and on the radio, I don't watch the news, but I hear about it I listen to talk radio all day. So if I didn't hear about it on there, or didn't see it on TikTok, man, I would be none the wiser. I wouldn't be worried about what's going on. 8,000 miles on the other side of the world, as long as this doesn't affect me. My lights stay on, and I feel like everybody feels like that, really on the cool, deep down. As long as it doesn't affect them directly, doesn't affect their ability to take care of their families directly, I think people are just it's just fake. It's fake. There's a term that I've heard called virtue signaling, where this is the thing that people do to make other people feel that they are virtuous. And it makes me think about a whole other stuff, like Colin Kaepernick kneeling, and how people were outraged about that. And I really feel like people don't care about the national anthem like that. White people too. I feel like nobody cares about the national anthem, because many questions that I used to ask is, So if you having a get together at your house and a football game is on and they do the national anthem, does everybody stop doing what they doing and put their hand over their heart and watch the national anthem on the TV? Man, stop playing, man.
Right, right.
Stop playing. Yeah. So yeah, this virtue signaling, man. But in the big scheme of things, man, we got a long way to go. We're not even close to reaching the good position or the good condition. We're not even close. So, I don't look forward to coming back, but I know I'll be back.
Right. I'll be back too. But family, man, we appreciate y'all, man, for hanging with your peoples. We appreciate you. Please like, share, subscribe. You know, it helps us to keep the channel rolling. Also, leave a comment. What do you think about what we said? You agree, disagree? What's your stance? Let us know. We like to create some kind of dialogue going on in the comment section. So, thank you guys. Thank you again for hanging with us. We appreciate you more than you'll know. We'll love you. Until next time, life is for the living. Live out loud and on purpose. Peace.
Peace.